in the form of His followers. See, we are His mouthpiece. We're the body. We have a voice too. This world speaks loud, and it's clear. And there's no denying what the world stands for, or does not stand for. The world makes it very, very obvious. But in today's time, what do Christians stand for? The waters are kind of murky a little bit. If we're honest, the waters are kind of murky. Why? Because there are people, Christians, that live like the world. We're supposed to be in the world, not of the world, but they're taking a couple of steps to being of the world. They want to claim Christianity because that's the cool thing to do. You know, that's now, I hate to say this because we're going to be on YouTube, but that's okay. This needs to be heard. It's the cool thing to do. The Christian, you got to have the Christian look. You know what the Christian look is? The skinny jeans with the tight t-shirt. Are you with me? Are you seeing this? It's on college campuses, so I'll tell you what I see. The Christians are the tight t-shirts. Whitney and them know. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Yes, okay. The skinny jeans and the boots and the haircut kind of similar to what I have, but you know, you're bald on the side and you got the little flip back, and that's the look. That's the look. Yeah, Destiny, thank you, Destiny. Yes, I see it. Somebody, I'm not making this stuff up. You can look it up. You can probably Google Christian look and it'll pull up. I'm not sure that it would, but you probably could. That's the look. It's cool. It's in. You know how you had styles I wasn't born, but you had the style in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and everybody dressed a certain way. That's the Christian style. You want to look like the Christian, that's what you do. But that's all it is. You look like it, but it's cool if you don't live like it. That's how it is in 2018. So the waters are murky a little bit. Why? I fear it's because 1 Thessalonians chapter number 5, verse number 23 isn't happening. Verse number 23 says this, "Now may the God of peace Himself sanctify you completely." Stop right here. Pause. Time out. May the God of peace Himself sanctify you completely. Here's the issue. We as Christians have allowed ourselves to stop being consumed by God. Denver, what do you mean by that? What I mean is we have allowed the flesh within us to push God into a corner. We have allowed the world to enter in, or flesh to enter in, to set up shop. And now the world is speaking loud and clear, and we'll talk about Christ in here, but the voice gets murmured the further outside of the walls of this church we get. That's right. It gets murmured, it gets quiet. Because, that's not PC. You hear that on the news a lot. It's not PC to talk about Christ. Political correctness for those who aren't watching the news. It's not politically correct to talk about Christ. Somebody's feelings might get hurt. You've heard that before. Mm-hmm. Well, if the world can push their view, then why can I not have my voice back?
Amen.
Why can't I talk back about what I believe in and make my stand?
That's right.
If you're going to make your stand and you talk about, you can believe whatever you want to believe, they say that. You hear them say that. Believe what you believe. I'm a Christian, you can't believe that. You see it happening. Mm-hmm. You see it happening. So why can we not make our stand? We talked about last week being bold, being up front. And this is why I fear that most Christians have a hard time with that is because we have allowed the flesh within us to push God into a corner, and the Bible says, may He sanctify us completely.
Amen.
Completely. Every inch of me, head to toe, inside out, consumed by Christ. Consumed by Him. Now, once saved, always saved. I fully believe that. And in no way would I ever say otherwise. I believe once you've accepted Christ, then your name's written in the Lamb's Book of Life, and there's nothing that you can do from there on out that will take your name off of that list. But I also firmly believe that Satan, once we get saved, wants to silence our voice. You know, when we are not saved, we're Satan's best friends. He's got us right where He wants us to be. But when we come to know Christ, we've now made an enemy. We've got an enemy. And what Satan now does is, if I can't have you for eternity, then what I want you to do is sit down, be quiet, don't talk about Christ to anybody else, and let me work. That's what Satan wants. You know, he's not best friends with a Christian, but a Christian who's silent, he can get along with it. He can get along with a good bit, because they're still right where he wants them to be. Silent, not consumed by Christ. I'm under the impression, church, when Christ gets a hold of you, and I mean really gets a hold of you, then you can't help but live life for Him. Can't help it. It becomes natural. It becomes a phenomenon within us that what Christ did for me, and you realize that, and you grasp that concept, and you can wrap your mind around it. I don't understand that kind of love. He illustrated it for me at Calvary. I still can't grasp it. But the best that I can grasp is that the God of the universe stepped off of His throne, entered His creation. A creation that was broken, lost, and on its way to hell. And He entered the plane and said, I'm about to change history forever with my love. And He died on that cross for me and for you. He paid a price that I could not pay. And when He gets a hold of me, and He's gotten a hold of me, I can't help but live for Him. I want this morning, church, to rekindle that flame for everybody here this morning. That flame that burned within you the very first time Jesus stepped into your heart. That flame that burned within inside of you that very moment. At that moment, fully consumed by God. Fully consumed, head to toe. You could feel it. It was almost tangible. You could reach out and touch it. You remember that time? I hope you do. If you don't, I pray that you'll experience for the very first time this morning what that feels like.
Amen.
It was almost so tangible. Where did the zeal for Christ go, church? Where did the boldness go? Where did the unashamedness go? The Bible says we are to be unashamed of the gospel of Christ. Where did that go? How far have we fallen in 2018 in America that the one true voice, the one saving voice, the one that came and died for us, and now we are His mouthpiece, we are living in this world, we are to be in it and not of it, and if I'm in it, then I might as well tell people about Him.
That's right.
Where did that go? Where did the earnesty go? Where did the urgency go? We've become complacent. We've become complacent. We live in a world now, and this is partially my generation, and it's a shame to say it, but it is. It's part of my generation. Somebody else's job. Somebody else will do it for me. It's not my job. Most of the time it's the other way around. It's not my fault, it's somebody else's fault. But we look at it the same way too when it comes to a job. It's not my job, it's somebody else's job. They'll take care of it. We've become complacent. And we've lost the urgency within us to see souls won for Christ. The burden is no longer within us. Man, I long to have the burden that Paul had for the lost. In essence, in Romans, Paul said the burden for the lost in him is so great that if he could, he would switch places with someone that was lost so they could experience heaven. He said that's how far I would go. If the Lord would let me, I would trade places with the lost. That was the burden that he had for them. But it's not a world thing. See, if it was a world thing, then we would have a bigger issue. This is an American issue, the way that I see it. Yep. Why is it an American issue, Denver? I'm glad you asked. Because everywhere else around the world, everywhere else, the word of Christ is spreading like wildfire. I don't know how many were here when we watched that film, that documentary about the people in the persecuted church, and you heard stories. I believe it was in China where they said their seminary's prison, because that's where all their Christians are. That's their seminary. That's where they learn about Jesus, how to be a better minister for Him, is in prison. In other places around the world, carrying this will sentence you to public execution. But people still carry it. People still go out and they tell people about Christ. Under the persecution, under the knowledge of I might die for carrying this Bible. This book will sentence somebody to death if it's in their possession in some countries. But yet here in America, somebody else's job. Here in America, you can live life however you want. I'm a Christian, but I'm not going to tell you about it. You live life however you want to live it. In other places of the world where the Bible, where being a Christian will have you put on trial, will have you sentenced to prison time, have you sentenced to death. I think back to all the early apostles. All those who say that Christianity is wrong. All those that say that it was a hoax, that it was a fluke. This is one of the reasons I know that Christianity is real. This is how I know it. You read about the early apostles. You read about the early disciples facing death. Even today, a lot of the times, facing death, all you have to do to get loose is to say, I was lying. I don't believe that. That's all you got to say. In that time, when the apostles were under persecution and people were after them, why would they hold to that? Even unto death, if it wasn't true. Why would they? That would be dumb. To die for something you know is not true. But they held to it. They stuck to it. Why? They believed, they saw, they witnessed, and they said, this is the only way to heaven. I know that Jesus is inside of me. He told me to go. That's what I'm going to do. He died for me. If that means dying for Him, so be it. Amen. So be it. I'm living for Him. May we be completely sanctified The whole, this is it, may your whole spirit and soul and body be kept blameless at the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ. But listen, He's not leaving you out to hang. He who calls you is faithful. He will surely do it.
Amen.
If you believe He will, and you ask Him to, then your life will radically change. I fully believe that. You'll become so overwhelmed, so full of the Spirit. The Bible talks about my cup runneth over. Blessings on top of blessings, joys on top of joys. It's spilling over. And since I have an abundance, then I'm going to give to others. I'm going to give to others. Church, may we get back to praying. May we get back to witnessing. May we get back to being unashamed of the gospel of Jesus. May we grow tired of being complacent and say, you know what, it's time that we make a stand. Because man, if there was ever a time in all of the world's history for Christians to make a stand, oh, it's right now. And this world is in turmoil. It's going down the toilet. I don't know how many of you watched yesterday what happened in Hawaii, but that's the state that we are in now. For those that don't know, it was incidental, of course, but there was a text that was sent out to every islander that was on Hawaii saying, seek shelter immediately of missiles incoming. And I've read stories on the news and on websites of family members and families that were in tears, bawling their eyes out, trying to make a decision. Who am I going to spend my last moments on earth with? I can't make it to all my family members. I've got to choose who I'm going to spend my last moments on earth with. That's how far that we're in a tailspin. That's a reality. That's a reality right now. There are world leaders that are all around the world that are eyeing what's going on in international affairs. And I'm not one to get political, and I'm going to stop there. Because you know it and I know it. So if there was ever a time, I believe we are inching ever so closely to the day that the eastern sky is going to split. Gabriel's going to blow the trumpet. Jesus is going to step down out of the clouds. And we're getting out of here. Amen. I believe we are inching ever so close. I'm not going to tell you when. I don't know when. But I believe it's close. I really do. I believe it's close. So church, it's time to make our stand. It's the 2-minute drill for those that know football. I love sports. It's the illustration that I'm going to use. It's a 2-minute drill. We've got our last stand, our last push. We got to give it all. We got everything within us. No holding back. I fear the day when I stand before the Lord and I still have tools in my hand that He's given me to use that I didn't use. Oh, how ashamed I would be to say, God, you gave me these tools to tell people about you, and I didn't use them. Oh, my goodness. That's going to hurt. That would hurt. So while I'm here, while there's breath in my lungs, Lord, my prayer for 2018 is not my will but yours, and my prayer is now, may the God of peace Himself sanctify me completely. May every inch of this pastor in 2018 be consumed with Jesus Christ, be about His business, whether I'm at home by myself, whether I'm with friends, whether I'm at a restaurant, whether I'm in class. No matter where I'm at, may I be fully consumed with Jesus Christ every second of every day. May not a day pass where I'm not fully consumed with the one who loved me enough to die for me. I'm going to close with a quote from C.S. Lewis. Amanda, come on, Miss Peggy. Thank you for your time. I haven't gotten a signal from Courtney, so I must be doing pretty well on time. One quote from C.S. Lewis, and then we're going to sing. I'm going to shut up and we're going to sing. C.S. Lewis put it this way. He often put it best. One of my favorite writers outside of the Bible, one of my favorite authors to read. He says this: if you've handed yourself over to Him, talking about Jesus, it must follow that you are trying to obey Him, not hoping to get into heaven as a reward for your actions, but inevitably wanting to act a certain way because the first faint gleam of heaven is already inside of you. Won't you stand? Won't you come do business with Him as we sing? I hope this year, as the days go on, that you would ask yourself that question that I asked at the top of the message. How much of my life should be dedicated to God? Ask it honestly. You know the right answers are 100%, so maybe a better question is how much of my life devoted to God? 50%? 60%? That's pretty good. But Jesus wants it all. He wants it all. So I pray this morning that that be your answer as we sing just one more. God bless you. I hope all hearts are content. Thank you so much for being here. At this time, we're going to have a brief 5-minute break, 5-minute intercession, if you will, or intermission rather. Intermission. For those that would like to slip out, you may be back in here 5 minutes and we'll begin conference. God bless you. Thank you so much for being here. Those that want to be dismissed, you may be dismissed.